What if the kingdom's most powerful mage wasn't just guarding a secret, she was the secret? Welcome to my first video in the series, diving deep into the 5 pre-made characters from the Daggerheart Quickstart Adventure, the Sablewood Messengers. Whether you're getting ready to play this adventure or just curious as to how these characters work, I'm breaking down each one, what they can do, how their stats and abilities interact, and what makes them special in this narrative-rich system. Today, we're starting with Marlowe Fairwind, the elven sorcerer handpicked by the king himself to go on this adventure. She may look calm, collected, and even regal, but underestimate her magic and you'll end up vaporized. Stick around as we unpack her abilities, her instinct-heavy stat build, and the devastating power of her primal origin. Welcome, adventurers. I'm Kristen, and this is Kristen's Epic Adventures. This is your home for all things tabletop role-playing games, whether it's rules, breakdowns, tips, tricks, unboxings, or reviews. And today we're going over one of the 5 pre-made characters that are available for the Daggerheart Quickstart Adventure, Sablewood Messengers. The first one is Marlowe Fairwind. She is the elf sorcerer of the group. So as you know, Daggerheart comes with these really awesome cards that showcase the player's abilities. And if you were building your own character, you'd be able to handpick some of these cards, but I have here the cards that apply to Marlowe in this adventure so that we can go over them together. Okay, I have the information about Marlowe Fairwind brought up in the Quick Start guide on my laptop here, and I have the character cards that apply to her taken out of the core rulebook set. So let's just go through these together. First off, Marlowe is an elf. So I have the Elf Ancestry card here out of the box, and it's got really some amazing artwork on it. It's really cool. So it has a little bit of flavor text on it. It says, elves are typically tall humanoids with pointy ears and acutely attuned senses. Now, being an elf gives her 2 abilities that are right here literally on the card itself. So the one thing I like about these cards is there's going to be no more searching through all this text on your character sheet to try to find abilities that you swear you saw somewhere but now can't find. You're literally just going to be able to find your elf card that's sitting next to you on the table as you're playing. Even if you're playing online, you could have these cards next to you on the table. And everything is right here on the card. So the first ability that an elf has is quick reactions. This allows her to mark a stress to gain advantage on a reaction roll. Now, the way you get advantage, or the way you roll with advantage in a Daggerheart game, is to add a d6. Advantage and disadvantage are just a d6 in this game. It's not another d20 when you're working in a d20 system. Remember, Daggerheart is a 2d12 system. So for advantage, you're going to roll your hope and your fear dice, 2d12s, but you're also going to add a d6. And whatever comes up on the d6, you get to add into the total. If it was a disadvantage, you would have to add a d6 and subtract it. But you're going to add in this case because it's advantage, and you're still going to pay attention to which die is higher, hope or fear. But this is a great way for Marlowe to get advantage on a reaction roll by marking a stress. That's a really cool ability. The next one is her Celestial Trance. You may remember from a lot of elf lore from other games that elves don't really need to sleep and they can go into these trance-like states. And the Daggerheart elves have something really similar. The Celestial Trance says, during a rest, you can drop into a trance to choose an additional downtime move. Now, Daggerheart uses this system of rest called downtime, where you can actually choose to do downtime activities. And I believe everybody gets 2 downtime activities, but if you're an elf, you can get an additional one. So you get 3 downtime activities just for being an elf. This is the cool ancestry abilities that elves have. Hey everybody, I'm Kristen, and this is Kristen's Epic Adventures. If you love all things tabletop role-playing, rules breakdowns, tips, tricks, unboxings, and reviews, this is the place for you. You're going to want to make sure you hit the subscribe button down below so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Make sure you also hit the notification bell because I'm going to be going over all 5 of the pre-made characters that are in the Daggerheart Quickstart Adventure, Sablewood Messengers. Okay, let's get back to Marlowe now. In addition to being an elf sorcerer, she is also has a community feature of Loreborn. Daggerheart has these really cool different communities that are available. And let me tell you what a loreborn character is in Daggerheart. For some flavor text, it does say being part of a loreborn community means you're from a society that favors strong academic or political prowess. And it comes with a feature called well-read. It also has some really cool artwork on there you can see. And well-read says you have advantage on roles that involve history, culture, or politics of a prominent person or place. And this ties into this quick start story because Marlo is actually the mage to the king. So it would make sense that she is kind of involved with history, culture, or politics of a specific person. So whenever she's doing those types of roles, she gets advantage. Remember I said advantage is you add a d6 to your hope and fear dice. So you'll be rolling 3 dice, your 2d12s and a d6. Add all of them together. And then depending on what type of role the DM says it is, you may also be adding your modifier as well. This says history, culture, or politics. It may end up involving, it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to charm somebody to get this kind of information, maybe it's a presence roll. If you're trying to recall knowledge about this, maybe it's a knowledge roll. So you would still probably get a modifier to add to this as well, unless your modifier is 0. So that's the abilities from being an elf and the abilities from being a loreborn. And I wanted to go over these so that maybe you could watch each video and decide which of these pre-generated characters really resonates best with you and you think you might want to play in this adventure, because they're all very, very different. So one of the things that I want to go over next about Marlo is her subclass. There's 2 subclasses available for each class, and she's a sorcerer, but for the pre-made characters, they've already picked one. So she has the Primal Origin subclass, and even though I have 3 cards here, you're only going to need 1 to play this quick start adventure. I'm going to go over what the other 2 are in a second. So your subclasses, and the reason there's 3 cards is because your subclasses have 3 levels. You have a foundation card, and then if you continue with this character up into the 2nd tier, you get a specialization card if you choose it. And then if you continue up into the 3rd tier, you get a mastery card if you choose it. There's so many options for leveling up in Daggerheart. There's plenty of other things you can choose, like abilities you can change, or like how many hope slots you have or how many stress slots you have instead of taking these cards. But I just wanted to go over what was on them in case you choose to keep playing these characters after the quick start. So for the Sorcerer Primal Origin Foundation card, these are the abilities that Marlo is going to get from this. She gets this option called Manipulate Magic, and this sounds so cool. Check this out. Your Primal Origin allows you to modify the essence of magic itself. After you cast a spell or make an attack with a weapon that deals magic damage, you can mark a stress to do one of the following, and you get 4 choices here. You can either extend the spell or the attack's reach by a range. Remember, Daggerheart uses ranges: melee, very close, close, far, very far. So maybe your spell says it only works in very close range. Well, with this ability, if you're willing to mark a stress, you can expand that or expand it out into close range. Maybe it goes close and you want to expand it into far range. That's really cool. One of the other options you can choose is to get a +2 bonus to the action roll. So that's when you're actually rolling to see if it hits the other character, whoever you're attacking, like your adversary. You can get +2 to that by spending a stress. You can spend a stress to double the damage dice, or spend a stress to hit an additional target in the same range. This is just so cool. You get 4 different options off of this one card, and it only costs 1 stress. So as long as you have the stress to spend, when you're doing something on your turn, you can literally choose any of these. And seriously, the way Daggerheart works, as long as you have stress to spend, you can still keep doing these. It says, I really think you can only do 1 of these per attack, but literally each each time your turn comes back around and you're doing something, as long as you've got the stress, you can keep doing these things. It's just really cool. Yeah, that's really neat. So this is just the foundation of someone who has the primal origin for a sorcerer. Now, if you ended up keep playing Marlo after this adventure is over, say you got up to the next tier, which is, I think it's having to get up to level 5. I'm not sure. It might be level 4. I can't remember, but I think it's level 5. You have the option when you level up, and you don't have to take this, but you could go into the primal origin specialization, and this adds enchanted aid. You can enhance the magic of others with your essence. I love this. This is so cool. It's such a good thing about like teamwork and helping others. It's an ability that you have that literally helps your allies. It's so great. When you help an ally with a spellcast roll, right, you're able to like spend a stress to help an ally, or maybe it's spend a hope. I can't remember. Someone's going to have to comment down below and check that for me. When you choose the help action, does it cost a stress or does it cost a hope? I think it's a hope. Can you put that below? It says you can roll a D8 as your advantage die, right? Remember I said when you help somebody to give them advantage, it's a D6. Well, if you're up into this tier and you've chosen this card, now it's a D8 to help. So that's even better. And then also, once per long rest, after an ally has made a spellcast roll with your help, meaning you've done this, you can swap the results of their duality die. Like seriously, instead of having them succeed with fear, you can choose to have them succeed with hope instead, because you swapped the results of their duality dice. How awesome is that? It's called Enchanted Aid. That's going to have so many amazing role-playing moments for like the party helping each other out. That's one thing I like about this game so much, is it's so cooperative and there's so many amazing storytelling moments of helping each other out, whether it's on the battlefield or off. Yeah, so that's the Enchanted Aid if you've leveled up to the next tier. Now, if you continue playing Marlo after the quick start and you get all the way up into the 3rd tier, if you want, you can take the Mastery card and check this out. Its ability is called Arcane Charge. It says you can gather magical energy to enhance your capabilities. When you take magic damage, you become charged. Alternatively, you can spend 2 hope to become charged. Okay, so you have 2 ways of doing this. You can just spend 2 hope and become charged, or if you take magic damage, you become charged. That's really cool because that's actually like at least a semi-positive to actually taking damage, which is a negative. Anyway, it says once you're charged, right? If you successfully make an attack that deals magic damage while charged, you can clear your charge to either get plus 10 to the damage roll, right? Which could potentially boost you up into the next tier of damage so you do more hit point damage, or gain plus 3 to the difficulty of a reaction roll that the spell causes the target to make, and then you stop being charged at the next long rest. So basically, like, if you don't end up using it at all and then you go to long rest, it's going to go away. But as long as you use it, that's crazy. You have a choice here. Plus 10 to the damage roll or plus 3 to the difficulty of a reaction roll. That means if you do a spell that makes the adversary take a reaction roll, this is kind of like a spell save in D&D, right? You're trying to cast a spell on a monster and it requires them to make a saving throw, but this is Daggerheart, so they have to make a reaction roll. It ups the difficulty by 3 points. This is really good. I mean, you do have to get up into the 3rd tier for this, but this is one thing that I really like about Daggerheart, how you have these 2 different subclasses, right? And again, this is just the Primal Origin subclass. But you have a foundation level, and then if you want it, you have a specialization level, and if you want it, you have a mastery level. I love it. It's so cool. Moving on, the next thing I want to go over about Marlo is I want to back up to the bottom of her character sheet She has some class features for being a sorcerer that don't have cards. They're just printed at the bottom of the sheet. They're still really cool. They aren't going to be part of the cards that you have set around you at the table. And first of all is Arcane Sense. So she has the ability to sense the presence of magical people and objects within close range. This is really cool. This is honestly like Detect Magic, but at a much more compact area. Okay, so what they did was they kind of took some of the, some of the more commonplace, I guess, abilities that you would expect of a sorcerer, made them not super powerful, and just put them on the character sheet so you don't have cards for them, but they're going to be really easy to find because there's only a few of them. This is the thing I love about Daggerheart, is you're not overwhelmed with just a ton of text on your character sheet, or you're not having to grab the rule book and flip back open to, what the spell says or anything. The bigger, more important, cool stuff is literally right here on the cards. So another class feature that Marlo has that's pretty basic, so it's very simple and on the sheet, is called Minor Illusion. Okay, doesn't this sound pretty familiar from D&D as well, right? So this basically says you can make a spellcast roll with a difficulty of 10, and on its success, you create a minor visual illusion no larger than yourself, and it has to be within close range. And it's convincing to anyone at close range or farther. So the only two that were closer, right, were very close and melee. So within very close and melee, obviously someone's going to see right through it and see that it's an illusion. But as long as they're close, far, very far, it's convincing. They're not going to be able to tell the difference. Now, again, remember it said it was a spell cast roll with difficulty 10. And Marlowe's character sheet will tell you that it's on here somewhere, her spell casting is based on those 3 subclass cards I talked about right at the top. It says spell casting trait instinct. Okay, so that's what Marlo uses as her spell casting modifier, is her instinct score. That's why for these pre-made characters, they put her +2 in instinct. So real quick, the way Daggerheart works is you don't actually roll for different stats, generate 6 different numbers, decide which one you want to put them in, and then look up what the modifier is. It's so much easier. They literally tell you, you're just going to distribute 6 modifiers. You've got a -1, because you're going to be probably bad at something. 2 zeros, meaning you're average. 2 +1s, and a +2. So obviously, for the sorcerer, because she's her spellcasting ability trait is instinct, the +2 has been put in instinct. So anytime she wants to cast her spells, it's a roll plus her instinct modifier, which is +2. All right, so let's go back to this. Minor Illusion is a spellcasting roll of difficulty 10. It just has a 10 in parentheses after it says spellcast roll. So that signifies that that's the difficulty. So you're going to take your 12-sided hope die, your 12-sided fear die, roll them, add your instinct modifier, which for Marlo is +2, and you need a 10 or higher to be successful. That's all that means. Super easy. So that is for her to create a minor visual illusion. Minor illusion. See, these ones that are on the sheet, not on a card, are very simple and basic, which is why they don't have a card. All right, so her last class feature is to channel raw power. That sounds awesome. Let's see what that is. Okay, once per long rest, you can place a domain card from your loadout into your vault. We're going to go over all that, what that means. To either gain a hope equal to the level of the card, or enhance a spell that deals damage, gaining a bonus to your damage card equal to twice the level of the card. Okay, this one sounds a little trickier, so let's break it down. Remember, these are your domain cards. No, a domain card. These are your subclass cards. We haven't gone over the domain cards yet. Your domain cards for a sorcerer are your spells. It's either your spells or your abilities, right? Remember, there's like 2 domains that you can choose from, so you have a library of cards. And these ones are already 2 that are predetermined for a pre-made character. We're going to go over these next. But basically, Marlo has 2 of them. She has Unleash Chaos and Rain of Blades. So this is basically saying once per long rest, she can place one of these cards from her loadout into the vault. What's a loadout? A loadout is all the cards that you have, the domain cards, not the Ancestry one and the community one. These two stay all the time, no matter what. The elf loreborn, that stays, okay? And not including her subclass card either. Literally just her domain cards. You can only have up to 5 of these out here on the table while you're playing, okay? So that is called your loadout. Up to 1 through 5 cards that are on the side here, right? So you also have the vault. The vault is where you store any cards that aren't in your loadout, right? So if this is your loadout and this is your vault, okay, all you're doing is like moving a card to the other side of the table. It literally means it's out of play, okay? It's stored away in the vault. You don't have access to it. You can't use it, okay? So the other option is to enhance a spell that deals damage, gaining a bonus to your damage roll equal to twice the level of the card. So if I put a level 1 card into my vault, I can increase the damage by 2. If I put a level 2 card in my vault, it goes up by 4. If I put a level 3 card in my vault, it goes up by 6. Isn't this crazy? You're like, it's such a cool mechanic. You have these available abilities and you're saying, I'm willing to sacrifice this one for now to do extra damage to this right now because this is important. Okay. Now, there is a little lightning bolt in the upper right-hand corner of these cards. I don't know if it's going to focus because right now it's focused on my face and it might not be light enough. Maybe you can see it this way. Right up in this right-hand corner, there's a little lightning bolt with the number 1 on this card. Same as on this card. This is a recall cost. You can spend this amount of stress to pull this out of the vault and back into the loadout at any time, as long as you have the stress to pay for it, even in the middle of combat. Okay, so gone are the days of, oh my God, I didn't prepare that spell for today. This sucks, right? You now have the opportunity, as long as you have the stress available, to pull something back out of the vault, into the loadout, into play, even in the middle of combat. And these are just 1 stress because these are first level spells, but as the spells get bigger and more powerful, the cost of the stress to recall them goes up. Okay? So those are the 3 class features that Marlo has for just being a sorcerer that are only on the character sheet, not on cards. Her arcane sense, she can sense the presence of magical people and objects within close range. Minor illusion, she can create a minor visual illusion no larger than herself within close range or further. And this channel raw power, place a card from your loadout into the vault to either get hope back equal to the level of the card or do extra damage equal to twice the level of the card. Super cool. I love these abilities. Okay, so now let's get back to the cards, because also for Marlo, she has 2 domain cards, and hers are both spells because she is a sorcerer. She has Unleash Chaos, and she has Rain of Blades. Arcana and Midnight are the 2 domains for a sorcerer. All right, I'm assuming this one that's in black is probably the Midnight domain, and this one that's in purple is probably the Arcana domain. Unleash Chaos. Okay, this is one of the sorcerer's spell. At the beginning of a session, place a number of tokens equal to your spellcasting trait on this card. So you are going to put equal to your spellcasting trait. Her spellcasting trait, right, according to her subclass, is Instinct. And her Instinct is a +2 modifier. So there's going to be 2 tokens on this card. It says you can target someone within far range. That's everything up to far range. So melee, very close, close, and far. All of those ranges. They just can't be in the very far range. Spend any number of tokens to channel raw energy from within yourself to unleash against them. So you got 2 tokens. You can either use one and save the other one for later, or you can choose to use them both. But just remember, these are per session, not per long rest, not per short rest. These ones are literally the time that your gaming group gets together to have a session. So you're still going to roll your spellcasting roll, right? Which is your hope and your fear die with your instinct modifier, and the DM will tell you if it hits or not. On a success, so as long as you succeeded, doesn't matter if your hope die was higher or your fear die was higher, just all you needed to do was succeed. Roll a number of roll a number of D10s equal to the tokens you spend and deal that much damage. So this is basically saying when you hit, you can decide if you would like your damage to be 1d10 or 2d10. You want it to be 1d10, spend one token, save the other token. You want it to be 2d10, spend them both. But you get 2 tokens per session, okay? So you can split it up. If it's a really important fight, maybe use them both. Use to both and do 2d10 damage. Mark a stress to replenish the card with tokens, right? It does say at the end of the session, clear unspent tokens. So if you didn't use them or you didn't use one, it doesn't roll over to the next session. You're going to start each session with 2. But you literally can mark a stress to get the 2 tokens back. I think that's pretty effing cool. That's unleash chaos. It sounds pretty chaotic to me, if you ask me. That's awesome. One of the things I'm loving about Daggerheart is everything seems so much more intense. The emotional moments seem more intense. The storyline can be more intense. The characters themselves and the amount of damage they can do is more intense. But same with the adversaries and the monsters. They can do things that are much more intense, okay? You're going to be dealing a lot more damage, but it works on thresholds, so that's why you don't have as many hit points, okay? And I'll go over that real quick before we end, too. So their other spell, this is also so incredibly cool, is called Rain of Blades from the Midnight Domain. Rain of Blades. Spend a hope to make a spellcasting roll. I know you all know what that is now, right? Roll your hope and fear and add that instinct modifier and add them all up. To conjure throwing blades that strike out at all targets within very close range. So how cool is this? You have something that works all the way up through far range, and you have something that has to be within very close. So that's just melee and very close. Only 2 ranges within yourself that you can use this. Somebody has to be in melee with you or within very close for this one to work. Targets you succeed against take a D8 plus 2 magic using your proficiency. Now, what does that mean? Okay, so we know we're going to be rolling a D8, and we know that it's magic damage. FYI, Daggerheart does not have fire damage, ice damage, poison damage. It has literally magic damage and physical damage. And there's a third one called direct damage. That's a little bit different, but you really just got to know those 2 kinds. Magic damage, physical damage. So this tells you that your target's going to be taking magical damage. And it's D8 plus 2 using your proficiency. So there's no number in front of the D8 here. And that's because you're referring to your proficiency on your character sheet. Level 1 characters are at 1 proficiency. Level 2 are at 2 proficiency. Now, you're only going to be level 1 for this quick start adventure. Okay, so you have proficiency of 1. So for purposes of the quick start adventure, you're going to roll 1d8 plus 2 to determine the damage on this. If you kept going with this character and leveled up to level 2 and you had a 2nd level proficiency, then you get 2d8. But for the quick start, you get 1. So this is pretty cool. Now, there's another thing here that Rain of Blades does. It says, if the target you hit is vulnerable, they take an extra d8 of damage. And you may remember things like resistant and vulnerable from D&D. Or I guess it's more like resistant. What's the other one? It begins with immune. That's what I was going to say. It begins with an I, immune. You can be resistant or you can be immune to certain types of damage. And you have an ability called vulnerable. Now, what vulnerable is, a target that is vulnerable means people get advantage when they attack them. So, this is basically saying, for Rain of Blades, if you had a target that's vulnerable, which means you had advantage on the attack, right? Not advantage because somebody helped you, but literally because they have the vulnerable condition. So you're rolling your hope die, that d12, your fear die, that d12, and an extra d6 to add in. That's the advantage when someone thinks vulnerable. And you hit. Okay? It has to be a successful hit. They take an extra d8 of damage. So now you're doing 2d8 plus 2 for Rain of Blades if they're vulnerable. Super cool. So Unleash Chaos and Rain of Blades, the 2 sorcerer spells for the Daggerheart Quickstart Adventure, Sablewood Messengers. Okay? That's pretty awesome. So this is Marlowe Fairwind is her name. And again, she is a Loreborn elf and with the Primal Origin subclass. Now, one other thing I want to go over on her character sheet, right? She has an evasion of 10, and that is because when you build a sorcerer at level 1, their evasion starts at 10. Unless they have anything else that modifies it, she does not. So she has an evasion of 10. That is similar to our armor class in Dungeons & Dragons. It means the DM has to roll a 10 or higher to hit her. She also has 3 armor because she is wearing leather armor. The base score of leather armor is 3, and this just means that she has 3 armor slots available. And I will go, I'll go over it right now. I was going to say I'll go over that in a second, but why not go over it right now? So it doesn't get confusing. You can spend an armor slot to lower how many hit points of damage you take. In Daggerheart, we base the damage on thresholds. You're only going to be taking 1, 2, 3 points of damage at a time, unless you're using an optional rule that gives you has you take 4 points. And it's based on thresholds. You've got a minor damage, like zone of damage points, a major damage zone, and a severe damage zone. So someone hits you or you hit someone else and you do X amount of damage. If it's in that minor damage zone, they only take 1 hit point of damage. If it's in the major damage area, you take 2. If it's in the severe damage area, you take 3. There is an optional rule that your table can use if they want. You don't have to. That if you take double the severe damage threshold, you take 4. Keep hitting this microphone. You don't have to use that optional rule if you don't want to. What Marlowe's leather armor does is it provides base thresholds of 6, 6, and 13. Okay? You can go 1 through 5 is the minor, but as soon as you hit 6, it switches to major. Until you get up to 13, it switches to severe. But you add your level into it. So that is why her character sheet says that her thresholds are 7 and 14, not 6 and 13. This is great because you can get armor that does a certain base threshold, and as you level up, your threshold numbers are going to go up exponentially as well. So this is why she has 7 and 14. And then the 3 armor means she has 3 slots that you can spend to reduce the damage into the next threshold. If she takes severe damage, which means marking off 3 hit points, and that's a lot when you're a level 1 character, she can spend an armor slot to reduce it to major and only take 2. If you're taking a major damage for 2 hit points, you can choose to spend an armor to reduce it to minor and only take 1. If you take a minor, you can spend an armor to reduce it to 0 and take none. Now, you can also only use 1 armor slot per attack that hits, unless you have a feature that says otherwise. There is a feature out there, I'm not sure what it's called or which character type it's for, but Marisha's character on Age of Umbra has it, where you can spend 2 to actually reduce it to, but all the other characters cannot do that. You can only reduce it by 1. Every character in Daggerheart also has a hope feature, right? So on the character sheet, right under the section where you record how many hope points you have, it will have your hope feature. Now, Marlo, again, is a sorcerer, and her hope feature is called Volatile Magic. It says that she can spend 3 hope to re-roll any number of your damage dice as long as it was an attack that dealt magic damage. So obviously first it has to actually hit. So it has to be doing magic damage and it has to actually hit. So provided those 2 qualifications are met, she can spend 3 hope to re-roll any of her damage dice. So if she rolled really low and she didn't like it, spend 3 hope and roll it again. Really cool feature. Now she also has the experiences, Royal Mage and Not on My Watch. Now what an experience does in Daggerheart, and it allows you to call upon like a past experience to apply to a current situation by spending a hope. You have to decide to do it before you make the roll. You can't roll first and see that it was not what you wanted and decide to add it after. You have to do it before. So you spend 1 hope to add an experience. You can spend another one to add another experience if you want. As many hope as you can pay for. You can add separate experiences on. You just can't double the same experience. So she has Royal Mage and Not on My Watch. Now, what do those mean? The fact that Daggerheart is a narrative game means it's entirely up to you what those mean. Okay? Royal Mage, we know from a little bit of her backstory that she is the personal mage to the king. So if she's in any type of situation, and think of the roleplay possibilities for this, where she could pull upon the experience of being a royal mage. It's for these quick start characters at level 1, you start with a +2 for your experience. You get to add that to a die roll. Say she's in a combat and she's fighting, it doesn't even matter what it is, she's fighting anything. And she decides to kind of role play in the moment and narratively say something to the tune of like, "You'll never get one up on me. I was the mage to the king." Maybe that's enough for the DM to decide that she can call upon her experience as a royal mage to include that experience in her attack. You do have to spend a hope for it though. So remember, these are resources that you need to balance. How much do I have? How much am I going to spend it on? You know, how much do I want to spend? But you're constantly replenishing these too. Every time you roll with hope, you get another hope point, whether you succeeded or failed on the roll. So it's a currency that you should not be trying to hoard. It's a currency that you should not be afraid to spend, because every roll you make can generate more. Now, it can also generate fear for the GM instead, right? But that's the exciting chance that you take. Her other experience is called Not on My Watch. Man, think of the role-playing opportunities for that one. So cool. You know, maybe some adversary showed up and they're really running their mouth and being kind of a bully and, you know, kind of starting to like really do some damage to her friends, and she's getting riled up and angered, and she's like, "Not on my watch. This is not happening. I want to spend a hope to use Not on My Watch experience for +2 to this roll." Okay, so that's how those work, and those are some really great ones. Now, she also comes with an inventory item of a minor stamina potion, and these potions clear 1d4 stress. That's a cool one as well. Very cool. All right, so we have gone over, we've gone over so many things here. We have gone over the abilities of an elf, quick reactions, mark a stress to get advantage on a reaction roll, and celestial trance, do an additional downtime move if you're in a trance. The fact that she comes from a lore-born community, she is well-read. She has advantage on rolls that involve history, culture, or politics of a prominent person or place. Perfect for the personal mage to the king. We've gone over her subclass card, Primal Origin, right? She has that amazing manipulate magic. Mark a stress to either extend a spell's range, get +2 to the roll to attack, have double the damage dice. Double a damage die. So if you're rolling multiple, you just double one, obviously the biggest one. Or hit an additional target. That's huge too. Okay, and what the specialization and mastery would be if you were playing this sorcerer into higher levels. And then we also went over her Midnight and Arcana spells. Her Midnight spell is Rain of Blades. So cool. You conjure throwing blades that strike out at all targets within very close range. You have to check out the artwork for yourself on this. It's got this sorcerer that has like, it almost looks like a hula hoop of arcane blades coming out around her in like a wheel. It's amazing. Right? And then you do D8 plus 2 magic damage based on your proficiency. So for the quick start, 1d8. If they're vulnerable, it's 2d8. And then Unleash Chaos. That's the one with the tokens, right? We put our instinct ability is +2, so we put 2 tokens on this card. You can either spend 1 or spend 2, and you get to roll that many d10s for the damage. And you can mark a stress to get them back. This is such a great character. Now, this is the only character out of the 5 pre-mades that is required to be in the Quick Start Guide. Because there's 5 to choose from. Your party might be smaller. You might not use all of them. But they do suggest that the Sorcerer is in the adventure no matter what. I believe that's because some of her magic abilities and the distances that can be done, that they can be done from, are pretty important to, in a sense, ensuring the party's success and fun level, you know, because magic is going to be pretty important to this story. So you want somebody using the character that's like a full caster. If you found this video helpful, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. You share this video to someone who's going to play the Daggerheart Quickstart Adventure, Sablewood Messengers. Go ahead and hit that like button if this helped you out. And let me know in the comments down below if you have any more questions about playing Marlowe Fairwind. Did I say that was her name? Fairwind. Marlowe Fairwind. If you have any more questions about playing Marlowe Fairwind in Sablewood Messengers, let me know. Upcoming videos are going to go over the other characters in the Quick Start Guide as well. So you're going to want to make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss when those are posted. Now, if you thought Marlo was impressive, wait until you meet the rest of the Sablewood Messengers. One of them literally shadow steps through the forest. Another swings an axe the size of a tree trunk. And trust me, they all have secrets. Next, you're going to want to watch one of the videos on the next screen. Go ahead and hit that, and I'll meet you there.